Hello, 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 and welcome to the first ever podcast by the aptly named Deadball Specialist. That'll be myself, Kunal, and my good friend Ahmed, um, who you can see on the screen alongside me. Now, we've got a lot to discuss on week one. We're going to be looking at the weekend's results, the top four. We'll be looking at Liverpool's struggles, Arsenal's woes, some Premier League managers that we both feel are in with a shout as they're a good team that play well, but they don't get enough recognition in our eyes. Predictions for the following week. But before we get stuck into any of that, you're probably thinking, who the hell are these two guys and why should we even bother listening to their podcast? So um, I'll let Ahmed introduce himself, a little bit about myself. I'm a Liverpool fan from South London. Supported Liverpool since the age of five. I've played football since the age of five. A huge fan. And I'm someone who likes to think I'm a realistic Liverpool fan, even though probably most other club supporters will say there's not such a thing. But I'd like to think I'm outside the grain with that. Ahmed and myself very much disagree on a lot of football things, so I'm hoping this leads for some interesting conversation on this podcast. Um, and I'll let Ahmed introduce himself and take it away.
Thanks, Kunal. My name is Ahmed. I'm an Arsenal fan. Have been for as long as I can remember, to my sins. I live in London, and I have. I like to think myself as not your typical Arsenal fan. Mainly it's because I think Arsenal fans are probably the worst fan base in this country, and I can't stand the vast majority of them. So you may feel the same. Just to kind of give you a little background on the name of our podcast, we are the Deadball Specialists. Uh, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we whip in a mean free kick, um, and secondly, we have dead opinions about ball, and we are specialists on those dead opinions. So yeah, there we are.
So should we get straight into this weekend's results, mate?
Absolutely, mate.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll start with the Wolves versus Leeds game. It was 1-0 to Wolves. Uh, I'll just give you my insight on that a little bit. I thought it
Mm,
was a great first half. I thought there was a lot of enjoyable football played. I think it was two teams looking for goals, and I think we've seen a lot of recent football that's been very cagey. And I think it's nice to see two teams, probably with them not the best defensive record, still be quite hungry to go and look for goals. I mean, Wolves' results have picked up. They've won two, drawn one in the last three, and winning this one makes it two wins on the bounce. There's some really good pressing from both teams as well. I want to tuck into the players in a minute with you, but what did you
mm.
think of the game?
I thought it was actually a really good game, but then at the same time, I'm not surprised. Like I've talked to you before about my fondness for Wolves, especially in their first season when they came up, and now I follow them closely. I mean, I had to watch some good football somewhere, hadn't I? Because my team certainly weren't providing that. So, and obviously Leeds are, they're a revelation. I followed them in the Championship, and so you just know all the ingredients are there for a good game, and I thought it was a good game. I mean, to be honest, I was expecting a little bit, more goals.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it wasn't to be in the end, but yeah, no, it was a really good game, and I think obviously I think both teams have a lot about them, and for me, the big thing with Wolves at the moment is that they've lost their main striker, Jimenez.
It's interesting you jumped on that point. It's something I actually want to
Oh,
touch base with
sorry, so
you. No, no,
is
no,
that
no.
on the?
Yeah,
Are you
hundred
going to get onto
percent.
that? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. No, we can tuck into it now. I think the thing with Wolves is they've got a very
Yeah,
small squad, and
extremely small. Yeah,
losing someone like him in it is so impactful. I think when they lost Jota, it was a big thing.
oh, yeah,
I will say this: Pedro Neto looks like a superstar, and
absolute
he's
wonder
slipped
kid.
into that Jota role without any sort of hassle. And it looks like Jota's not really
Exactly.
missed right now. It's
Well,
interesting.
exactly. I mean, you know how highly I rated Diogo Jota. He's an absolute gunman. And when you guys bought him, I'm not gonna lie, I died a little bit inside because I was thinking, damn, why did we go for him? He's honest, I really do like him. But Pedro Neto, this kid's a wonder kid. I mean, he's up there with like Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka for me as
Really? Okay.
yeah, honestly, like as probably one of the standout. They're the top three under 21 players in the league, and huge fan of him. But with the Jimenez thing, it's crazy because he contributed so much
Yeah.
of their goals and their attacking threat. For him to be out for so long and to kind of get by, and they've not really suffered too badly without him, which I thought they were really going to kind of suffer without him, and they've the kind of team have dug together and grinded out results. I mean, the result against us, that was, extremely lucky, because if we're being honest,
Yeah,
we should have been 4-5 up at halftime. We should never have given them a shot. But
yeah,
they stayed in the game.
they
They
stayed in
stayed
the
in the
game,
game,
and they
exactly.
scored a wonder goal, an absolute worldie.
Oh my God, absolute worldie, and you can't legislate for that. But then sometimes I think you make your own kind of luck in that aspect, and they really stuck to it. So yeah.
So kind of moving on to the players, I think Connor Cody. I'm putting him top 5 centre backs in the league
Oh,
right now
easily.
for myself.
Yeah,
He's
easily. Oh
fantastic.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
great centre back.
he's quietly goes about his business. He doesn't get all the hype, all the praise that he deserves, but he's great. The one person who I think has been overhyped, Traore.
Adama.
Now,
I knew you were going to say that.
Adama. Now,
Yeah,
I'll tell you why.
yeah,
I'll tell you why. Because I think for someone with so much potential, he's got pace, he's got power, he's blistering, he's his technique and end product is terrible in my eyes. I think for someone who's been at Barcelona and
yeah. I think
now
that's harsh.
I know perhaps I think the stats back it up. I think he scored. I think in his almost 200 games, he scored 22 goals and provided 12 assists. It's nowhere near enough, or the other way around. It's really, really terrible stats. And I think for a man that's played at Barcelona, he's played at even in their youth academy, and now he's on to Wolves, two very, very technical sides. For someone whose end product is so bad, something is going on there that I can't put my finger on. But I think he's been massively overhyped personally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think the reason why we're talking about him is because there's so much potential there,
Yeah.
and if he could kind of really get a handle on his end product and kind of ramp that up, he will be unplayable.
I agree.
On his day, he's completely unstoppable. Nobody could stop him. He just lacks that, and and it's that final ball, and it's whether shall I have a shot, shall I square it, shall I whatever, and he just doesn't quite have that end product yet. And I mean, I wasn't aware of those stats. I mean, those are some shocking stats.
Yeah, terrible.
Like, considering he plays for like a Wolves team that predominantly kind of has the ball and plays possession football and tends to have a lot of chances throughout the game, you really do want more from one of your front three, I think.
I think so too, and I think for someone who has that much potential, you'd want more consistency by this stage in his career.
100%. Yeah, I mean, how old is he now? I think he's like 20.
24, 25. He's still quite
Yeah,
young. He's still quite young.
yeah, still, but you're expecting. I mean, when you've got, like I said, you've got people that, listen, on the left, you've got Pedro Neto. Look what he's doing, by the way, and look at the contribution he's making. So, I think Adama needs to have a look at himself.
I also don't know how I feel about someone who baby oils their arm before a football game. That's also something.
Sorry, what was that? What did he say?
He uses baby oil on his arm before football matches.
Oh,
Have you not seen
apparently,
that? Yeah, that's like I seen it
I
for a
have seen
fight
that.
for a game.
I have seen that, and like he is single-handedly keeping the baby oil industry afloat, because I don't know anyone that uses baby oil apart from him. But apparently, it's so that defenders can't grab onto him. Yeah, the whole kind of wrestling.
Why do you need that advantage? You're that good.
Listen,
What do you
at
need
the end
that
of it,
advantage?
like mate, you're not in the WWF, you're not in the WWE. You don't need to be smothered in baby oil. So take it easy, bro.
Exactly. Chelsea Southampton 1-1. 1-1. It was a boring start to the game, I thought. Chelsea dominated, but no real clear chances. Yeah. I think it was a very, very class and composed finish by Minamino. It was lovely that the first touch, the two fakes, and then the outside of the boot was just. It's what I wanted to see him do at Liverpool, but he didn't get enough chances at Liverpool. But even when he was there, I think he was very. His defensive side of his game is a big issue for Klopp, and that's why I think he didn't play as much. But they really tore Chelsea open in the open. It was against the run of play. The first half overall was average, I thought. Werner definitely not hitting heights that I think he should be hitting currently. And the equaliser kind of come out of nowhere. Mount was a massive threat after that. After the penalty, Mount took his game up 7 or 8 notches, I thought. And really, he was the most dangerous man on the pitch as soon as he scored that goal. And prior to that, though, would you say he did anything? Would you say it was a good game?
No. I mean, the first half was a bit, it was a bit of a yawn fest. So I was like, oh God, okay, fair enough. But I felt that in the second half, Chelsea looked a lot better, and Mount. That's the best I've ever seen Mount play. He really was levels. he was literally all over the pitch. He was like, he he out Kante, and Kante was next to him. So I was really, really impressed with him. It was a fair result in the end, but I'll say this about Southampton, right? They're a weird side because they're one of those teams that could beat. So Southampton could beat City next week if let's say they were playing. They could beat City next week, right? They have it in them, but they could also lose to Sheffield United a week later. Right?
It's true.
There are very few teams in this league that can be. I mean, I think Leicester is another example that can beat the best team and also lose to the worst. And it depends on what day you get them. However, what I would say about Southampton is that a couple of things. Danny Ings, shocking, absolutely shocking tackle. He should never have slid in for that.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you doing?
It was foolish to go to the ground there. There's no need.
Why are you going to ground? Why? Just stay on your feet. Just shepherd him out and just, reduce his options. You don't need to dive in like that. That's just awful, awful challenge. And another thing is Hasenhüttl. I'm a big, big fan of this guy.
I like him
honestly,
too.
I really do like him. And I remember he was getting a lot of stick after his first 9-0. I think he's lost.
Is that two 9-0s though? That's bad. That is bad.
I mean, yes, but Wenger had an 8-0, mate, and you know how much I love him. And
but Wenger won stuff. I think it was 1-0 and had 2 9-0s that day.
But you can't blame him for not winning anything in Southampton. For them, I think mid-table is an achievement. So
should they not be challenging the FA Cup and Carling Cup because they are actually a good side in themselves?
Yes, but you need to look at the teams who are in those cups. You can only kind of
Spurs are currently in the final for the Carling Cup. Now, Spurs. We'll get on to Spurs in a bit, but
I can't wait for that.
Spurs are a great team right now. Are they any better than Southampton at this point in time?
No. I think Southampton are a better team than them. But then what you need to realize that with cup competitions, mate, it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable, which is weird for me. Which is weird for me. Like with Arsenal's consistency, kind of, in their run in the FA Cup in the past few years. Like that's insane to me because it's just on the day, and they seem to turn up every day for that kind of thing. But coming back to Hasenhüttl, I think he literally wrings every last kind of drop out of this team. I don't think there is a single manager in world football that can get this Southampton team to be better than they are right now. And I think he's one of those managers that literally gets every last bit out of it. Just to kind of give you like an F1 analogies, right? So like Fernando Alonso, for example, people say, the greatest drivers of all time. No one really mentions Fernando Alonso, but I've never seen anyone get more out of a car than Fernando Alonso did. He might not be in the best car, might not be in the fastest car, but he consistently gives you the best that car can deliver. So he's the Alonso of football management for me.
But do you feel that someone like, for example, Pep Guardiola, Nuno, Klopp would not get better at Southampton? They probably would, in all honesty. Those elite managers would. Would Ancelotti not be beating on the drum there?
Okay, I don't know why you're throwing Pep Guardiola. That man is a super. We will
get to that later.
And I am desperate to expose. I am desperate to expose this man, and we will in due course. But no, I don't think an Ancelotti or someone could get more out of this side. I just don't think they could. I think they need certain resources. They need a certain caliber of player. I think he takes what he has and he really does run with it. So if Guardiola was in charge of Southampton, they'd be relegated.
That's an outlandish statement. You can't say things like that. We'll get banned after our first podcast. You can't do that.
Hey, listen, we're called Deadball specialists, all right? Like I said,
that's the first dead opinion. Okay, let's move on to the Burnley game. So this was the game I was least looking forward to.
Oh God,
Burnley West Brom finished 0-0. Clearly, I was right to be not looking forward to watch this game. I mean, as soon as West Brom got man sent off, you'd think, right, maybe Burnley would go out and attack the game a little bit, at least try something, a bit of aggression. Nothing. It was boring. I thought West Brom looked more threatening when they went down to 10 men. They had 11, and they looked more threatening than Burnley. It was embarrassing. It was a game bereft of quality in my eyes. I don't know. What did you think?
I thought it was grim, absolutely grim. I mean, it was just awful. I mean, like, leading up to this podcast, like it's always been a pleasure for me to watch games and whatnot. And so I've really looked forward to games that try to kind of analyze it, really kind of taking like a keen eye to it. But this game here, my God, it felt like I was back at work. It felt like work to me. It felt like a project or something you have to do at work. And I'm like, oh God, when is this going to end? I felt that Burnley offered no kind of imagination. They weren't inventive at all. When a man gets sent off, he's supposed to go for it, show some initiative and really do go for it. They didn't do that at all. They just sat back in 2 banks of 4.
Do you think it's because they didn't have Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes? They're 2 main strikers. That's how they play their football. It relies on the same 11 people. Anything outside of that, they don't get. Don't get me wrong, it was a terrible game.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, possibly, but listen, we're in the Prem, and it's not as if you're down to 9 men. You've got a couple of people up there, so maybe like get Dwight McNeil to kind of whip one in and see what goes. Do something.
Yes.
But they just like literally 2 banks of 4, and if anything, West Brom almost nicked it at the end. They
did. Yeah,
I don't know what they were doing. They got into like the 6-yard box where when they were like, you first, sir. You
well, that player that cut inside and then hit the bar, that was lovely.
Exactly. Yeah, but like it's true. But I think it was like Maitland Niles who was like around the penalty spot, and he was like, I was like, hit it. What are you doing, Ainsley? Hit it. And he'd like, let me square it. Like tiki taka football, okay, in the 6-yard box.
West Brom don't know how to play tiki taka football. They got Big Sam as their manager.
Well, they were doing tiki taka that day in the box. I mean, like they don't do it on the rest of the pitch, but the goal's in front of you. Let me not smash it. Let me just knock it about and square it to you. I hit it. You're in the bottom 3. What are you doing, man?
There's on that point. It's interesting that you mentioned Maitland Niles there. I think that was a terrible move on his part. Now, I'll give you my reasoning behind it. I think if you look at some other players that have gone on loan moves, generally people go to loan moves that are clubs that are attacking or show some sort of intent or something that suits the current club they play for style of football. For example, Minamini goes Southampton. Southampton don't play too dissimilar football to Liverpool. It's kind of high press attacking. It's kind of it's similar in its ways. So for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who I really rate as a player, actually, I've told you this before, that I actually think he's a fantastic player. I don't know why he left on loan.
So do I.
But weirdly, him going to there, I think is going to hinder his career. I don't think it's going to help him. I think he's gone to a club that doesn't play good football. Learning under someone like Big Sam, fine, he'll get better defensively. But I think he'll take away from his creativity, and that was what made him so special. I think he was solid throughout anyway, but it's a weird move in my eyes to go to a club.
So I'll tell you why, from his point of view, why I don't think it's a weird move. And so he obviously he had loads of offers on the table. I think Leicester was one of them and whatnot. So so first things first, Arsenal don't want to kind of loan him to a direct rival.
Of course,
that's fine. So I think Newcastle was an option. I think like I said, Leicester. So basically, what West Brom was the only team to guarantee that he'll start in centre mid, which is his preferred position. So obviously Ainsley has been sort of shoved out onto right back, onto left back with us, and he's had like a multitude of positions, but he feels most comfortable in the central midfield. It's a lot like the Oxlade Chamberlain dilemma that we had, where he wasn't good enough to play in the middle, but he was fantastic at right back, so he stuck him at right back, and then he complained, his kicked off, I want to play in centre midfield. You're not good enough, mate. And then Klopp came in and gave us 40 mil for him, and he's basically disappeared off the face of the earth.
But but for us, he showed that he's good enough to play centre mid. He played really well for that first few years. He was scoring goals against City.
First few years.
Before he got injured, like back end of last year, halfway through that year, he was playing some good football after a while.
The only
he was, and I assure you he was. That's just that's a bit of Arsenal view, that, because he's playing.
Oh no, it's not. No. All I remember is that wonder strike against City in the Champions League. I thought, oh, okay, cool, that's amazing, and nothing since then.
No, he's played. I think you're giving him less credit than he deserves. I think he's done all right. He's been injured. Standard Oxlade Chamberlain. I think he's done all right.
That's standard for the Ox, but there we go.
Okay, so the game I don't probably want to talk about at all, the Merseyside
Oh,
derby. So I'll say this: I think it should have been a must-win for Liverpool. Prior to the game, I know we know the results now, but it was definitely a must-win for Liverpool to hit that top four. I think the result was 2-0 Everton. A few things I realised from that game. One was Kabak is far too slow, absolutely too slow for the Premier League. He looked terrible in the 3 games he played. I've had big concerns about him. Everton started really bright and pressed really well. It was a good goal, and it was a lovely pass from James, and it was a good finish too. Um, we've had an issue for a few weeks where we've had the ball a lot, but we've just not created many clear cut opportunities. And I think that continued into this Everton game. And it's been a feature all year. Everton closed the spaces really well. And really, it was never a penalty. We deserved to lose that game anyway, but it was never a penalty. And we started the better half much better. Again, we didn't convert any chances into goals. I think it's just typical Liverpool right now. Obviously, we're going to discuss Liverpool's woes in depth shortly, but that game, just isolating that game for what it was, it didn't feel like a 2-0 loss.
didn't feel like a 2-0 loss.
No, it felt like it could have been 1-1 that game.
Okay, I disagree with you.
Okay, sure, yeah, of course.
I disagree with you. I think I thought that Everton would be a much better team. I thought you guys offered absolutely nothing going forward. James' kind of pass into Richarlison, like
It's lovely.
it was beautiful. And when Richarlison picked up the ball and got onto it, I just knew he was going to score. Absolutely, he was going to score. I was like, this is guaranteed. And he scored. Really good finish.
But Kabak was terrible. Kabak, if you look at Kabak's positioning in that,
his position was awful on that. Absolutely
awful.
He should have stayed with Richarlison. He should have seen the danger, sniffed it out, but he didn't. And he let Richarlison kind of run off him and come through. So for me, he's a fault there.
I also want to make one point before you just get into this. That everybody who plays Liverpool plays 5 or 6 players at the back now. It's crazy. Like in the Everton game, Everton had 5 at the back.
Who?
And
Didn't have 5 at the back, did they?
They did. If you look at the way they played, they had 5.
Well,
yeah, they did.
Hold on. So they had like Luca Dean, they had Michael Keane.
Yeah.
So who was the other centre half?
Coleman and Mina didn't play, did he?
No, it was Mason Holgate.
Mason Holgate, right? Yeah.
Or was it? I can't remember. One of those guys.
And the two left wingers were essentially fullbacks in their own roles. Okay. So if you look at that, it's a kind of 6.
Yeah, but then.
Okay, don't get me wrong, it's Liverpool's responsibility to break that down, but it's everybody plays with 10 men behind the ball, and we recently we have been struggling to break that down, and we look so much bad because we're conceding goals at the same time. So before, where you could nick a goal and then know that Van Dijk and Gomez and everyone's going to be solid. Yeah. Now, if you don't nick the goal, you know that you're going to concede one. You're already on the back foot, aren't you?
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I do know what you mean, but I think a team of Liverpool's quality, right? You should expect that, and you should expect, you should. I would expect most teams to pull up to Anfield with the low block. You're supposed to kind of play through that. I mean, isn't that why you bought Thiago? To unlock that.
100%, yeah, 100%. But he again is walking into a decimated team right now.
Okay, so coming on to that, right? I'm sorry. Let me just come on to the penalty. Absolutely shocking decision. Never a penalty at all. Okay, absolutely disgusting. I mean,
I've read some people say it should be a penalty.
Nah,
and I can't fathom how. If that's a penalty, football's gone to pot in my eyes.
Yeah. The game's gone if that's the case.
Because he was already on his up. He was already sat down. He made the tackle. He didn't touch anyone. And then the players run into him and he's won the penalty.
Absolutely shocking decision. And what gets me too, right? So VAR said, mate, this is dodgy. Go and look at the screen, right? Have another look. And he goes, okay, go. Oh, fuck's sake. It's a bit like, okay, I'm only going because you told me, okay? He went over half a second. I was like, yep, stick it in my red decision. That's a pen. Whereas on every other occasion when they've gone to the monitor, it's always been overturned, right? I don't remember an occasion where they've gone to the monitor and it hasn't been overturned, right? So that's shocking, by the way. So should have been 1-0. I still don't think he would have scored, by the way. So I think he would have probably ended 1-0.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, but just coming on to kind of your kind of current injury row. So, a couple of things, right? Arsenal have had an injury crisis every season from like 2005 until I would say maybe the last couple of years, right? Every single year, right? Where
Okay.
we've had like major big players out for a long time. Okay. I'm talking like
Okay.
your Van Persies and your Eduardos and your Aaron Ramseys and your Wilsheres and all these other people that are important, like Koscielny and, big players for us that have been
Yeah.
out for a long time, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Like, we got to a Champions League final with a back four of Ibue, Giroud, Senderos, and uh, Mathieu Flamini at left back. Okay,
But that was a time where. But we also got to a Champions League final with Steve Finnan, dancing Jimmy
but at
Traore,
least okay.
Honcho, and him. So I think that time was very
Firstly,
pre-
firstly, firstly,
prehistoric time, isn't
fuck Honcho, the handballing
it?
bastard. Right, if I see that guy, it's on site for him. I'll never get over that. Dirty bastard. But at least you could say that Finnan is a right back and dancing Jimmy Traore is a left back, and
Yeah.
it's just
Once
Honcho is
man
a
is the
centre
worst
back.
footballer in Europe. It's that.
Exactly, yeah. But at least they're specialists in their position. We've got a centre mid who wasn't even that good at centre mid playing at left back. And
Yeah.
by the way, they created a new defensive record for not conceding goals that season. Just
Right.
saying. I think it was recently broken, but uh, that's what you take away from that. But for me, the biggest thing about Liverpool's injury crisis is that yes, you lost a mountain in Van Dijk, right? He
Yeah.
has probably been your most consequential signing I can remember, right, in my lifetime, right? He literally transformed your club, okay?
Yeah. But he's been out. Gomez been out. Allison has been out.
But
You've
for
had
me, the big deal,
Henderson.
yes, yeah, exactly. But
It's
for me,
fine. It's just fine.
exactly. But for me, like what's kind of exacerbated that is that okay, Van Dijk's gone out, right? Cool.
Mhm.
What you've had to do because of your injury crisis in general, Hendo's had to fill in
Yeah.
at centre back. So what happens then? Then you lose something in the midfield,
Yeah. I
right?
agree.
You lose Henderson in midfield. So not only are you suffering at centre back, you're suffering in midfield. And by then it's just an uphill struggle. It doesn't matter what the front three do. If you're centre mid and your centre halves are suffering like that, there's really no coming back from that. And it's kind of like a minor miracle that you are where you are because I think if that happened to anyone apart from maybe let's say like Man City, they would really be in big trouble.
I think so. But we can come on to that a little bit more in depth shortly when we talk about the Liverpool woes. Interesting that you thought that we didn't really deserve a goal in that game, or even try and do
Well,
anything to warrant a goal in Euros. I think there was some I think Mane had a couple of good chances in that game. I
he
think I
did,
think
but
this.
I just didn't see really any kind of incisiveness. I just didn't think for a minute that Liverpool were going to score. I just felt like,
I think that's been an issue all year. To be fair,
yeah,
the lack of incisiveness. 100% agree with you there. It's been a lot of possession, a lot of messing about outside the edge of the box, and then just not really breaking anyone down. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But again, that'll be a conversation because I've got some good, interesting points on that. When we come on to that shortly. Um, the Fulham Sheffield United game, 1-0 Fulham rather.
mm,
Um, Adamola Lookman, very dangerous, took the goal very well. Dangerous try,
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And there weren't too many talking points, I didn't think. It's
Mm.
poor defending for the goal. Took a hand for the chances. I don't know. Did you think? What did you think of the game?
Yeah, I mean, again, like a bit like the Burnley West Brom game. It wasn't a lot of quality, but
Yeah.
I think Fulham did deserve to win. I really do like Lookman. I think he's a really good prospect, and he's definitely going to move on to a bigger club at some point. I'd like to comment to Sheffield United though, because
Okay.
it's astonishing to me, right, how a team could be so good and so refreshing and just kind of be like, wow, like you like last year they came into the Prem, they were like down in League One, like 3 or 4 years, 2 or 3 years ago. Stormed through League One, stormed through the Championship, came up to the Prem, had an amazing first year. I think they finished seventh, right? I saw them at the Emirates. They ground out like a 1-1 draw. They
Yeah.
were fantastic, right?
Yeah.
How a team could fall off so that badly? I don't know what happened. I
Do you think
honestly
people have
don't.
just found them out a little bit? And they were, because if you look at Leeds that come up now, for example,
Yeah.
Leeds are having that year where they're being electric, where they're taking teams by
Mm,
storm, where they're counter pressing,
mm,
they're moving the ball very fast, but they're playing a lot of good on the ball football. I think Sheffield United had that because they're a shock element, or nobody expected that from them as such in the first year. As soon as they got
mm,
found out, the
mm.
quality of their players is not the same level of quality as the Leeds players. And I think now they've been found out, it's just a case of, right, we know how to deal with that now. So we can just shut you down and then let our quality shine. That's why they're bottom of the league right now. I think they've won about 2 or 3 games of them all year.
Mm.
It's really, really
Yeah,
bad
I
on
mean,
their part.
yeah, I mean, I do agree with you to a point. Like, yes, it happens a lot where teams do get found out and you find out how to play against them. I think the same thing happened to Wolves, but to like a lesser extent. But
Yeah.
I can't legislate for the fact that you've gone from 7th, right,
Mm.
to now being on like the lowest points tally of anyone. Like they at the moment they're on course to beat Derby's record. I mean, how
Yeah.
many points did Derby get? 11 or something? I
It's
don't
not
know if
like that,
they.
yeah.
I mean, they're more or less on that now as it is. But like, it's just crazy how poor they've been. And honestly, it's like when I watched them,
Yeah.
they're not the worst team you've ever seen. I don't know what it is. You watched them, and there was a game where they played Leeds at home that I watched,
Yeah.
and they should have won that game. There are lots of really good chances. I think Leeds end up winning in the end, but I don't know. Maybe it's a mixture of like bad luck, being found out, second season syndrome.
Yeah.
Listen, we all say the second album is always the hardest. So if you
Yeah.
ever,
Sure. Sure.
listen, if you, I mean, how many
Debuts are always
good, how
bangers,
many
aren't they?
exactly, how many like fantastic first albums have you heard, and then the second one has been better? Like,
It's a rarity.
yeah, like I mean, exactly. You'd have to really look into it. So, yeah, definitely they've got second album syndrome, I think.
Okay. Um, Now, the one result that'll make you very happy, even though it's neither of your teams, West Ham versus Spurs, 2-1 to the Hammers.
Oh, oh.
So the first thing to say is Spurs look so much worse under Mourinho. Now, I know he guarantees you trophies. Um,
Lie,
no,
by the way.
that's not a lie. But
It, it is a lie.
okay, but currently they're
But
in the
again, that's
final.
that.
Is
That's a
it?
discussion for another time.
Yeah, sure. But I tell you what's not like because he has won things everywhere he's been. He's not won things everywhere he's been. Well, actually, guarantees trophy in that regards. But again, that's a more in-depth conversation another time for sure. The thing that it is, they are in the final for the Carling Cup or the League Cup, whatever you want to call it. And the thing is, though, the football is more boring, a lot more boring. He he grinds stuff out. I think these rumours of apparently he doesn't give the attackers any attacking advice does seem to be true right now because they look kind of like they have no ideas. Um, if you look at West Ham, however, on the other hand, they are really, really hitting a bit of form. 2 wins and a draw in their last game. We're now 3 wins and a draw in their last 4. Um, it was 2 fast starts from West Ham, an early goal in the first half and an early goal in the second half. And they weren't really under the cosh at all, I didn't think. I think there were moments for Spurs in that game, definitely, where they were kind of had the ball. But Spurs looked like they didn't really have many ideas. I think they lacked a lot of creativity. It was a lovely header from Mora for the goal, and confidence grew from that point on, as they do with all teams when they score a goal. There's always a little bit of a boost, isn't there, for about 10, 15 minutes. But it just wasn't enough. And I think Spurs won't get top 4 this year, definitely. I think they won't even get Europe this year. I think
Unlikely.
I think if he wins the Carling Cup, it's a weird thing. I think second Pochettino, who got to the Champions League final, who was consistently getting top 4 football and was playing actually
Second in the league.
enjoyable, second in the league, and was playing very enjoyable football to watch.
Uh-huh.
Seems like a really backward step to take Mourinho. I know you're trying to sacrifice that for trophies as such, right? And if they win the trophy, then he can say, well, we won the trophy, now we've got one, and that's a springboard for success. But is winning the League Cup a springboard for anything? I don't really
No,
think it
no,
is
it
right
is.
now.
It
And I
is.
think,
I mean,
if anything,
no.
they've gone back. Yes, they've defensively looked a bit more solid for a bit.
Uh,
But the same old Mourinho's coming out, isn't it? Where a lot of players there's a bit of disharmony in the change room now. Harry Kane, 27, no trophies. He needs to go somewhere if he wants to win something. I know people don't like him, but he's got glass ankles, but he still scores goals. He should be at someone winning something. But who's got money right now? No one has money in the Premier League to spend on
Oh, no
players.
one.
So
I mean,
no one has cash.
no one in the world could afford Harry Kane. Let's be real about that.
No.
Even if you wanted to leave, no one's gonna stamp up what his market value is. So that's, I mean, yeah, he's never leaving. He's gonna look. He's gonna end up staying at Spurs for the rest of his career, and he's probably gonna have like a League Cup or two and to show for it, and that's it.
Has he won anything yet? No.
No, he hasn't won a single thing in his entire year. So, he'll be the guy that you'll see on like Match of the Day in like 10 years time with like, when you feel like when you see like Roy Keane on Sky Sports, he'll be like 7 times Premier League winner and
Yeah.
Champions League winner this and
Three
Steven
Premier League
Gerrard,
golden boots.
yeah, it'll be like, oh, Harry Kane once scored a brace away at Rotherham or something like that. I'm like, okay, mate, like literally no major honors.
I also think 150 million pounds. I'd rather get someone like Haaland or Mbappe. You're going to spend the money on.
100%, exactly. Oh my god, yeah.
Makes no sense. But
Exactly.
what did you think of the game? You must have reveled in the fact that.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I was watching that. It was an early kickoff. I always think that these 12 o'clock kickoffs are a bit weird because like the players are up at like 7 or whatnot, and they're like wolfing down like pasta and tuna at like 8. So it's not a nice experience. But, like, no wonder why the game tends to be kind of dead for those kind of kickoffs. But I thought, despite all that, I thought it was quite a good game. I think West Ham are a revelation this season, and it's crazy because like ever since they moved into the old Olympic Stadium, the whole point of that having that stadium was so they could challenge for Europe and maybe get into the Champions League, right? That's what their owners promised them. Like they said to them, we're going to be a Champions League team. I think they're well on course. I mean, who's to say West Ham can't get top 4 this season if they carry on? So yeah,
I think top 4 is a bit of a stretch, but
no, I'm not saying they will, or not this season, maybe not the next. But I'm saying they're on the right path.
Yes, that's true.
To get to top 4, and if let's say they were to do it this season, would anyone be too surprised? I'd be like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, I mean, you think Liverpool, Chelsea, Everton should really be knocking on that door before Everton.
They should be, yes. Well, no, I mean, look,
you'd be surprised if West Ham got it over one of those.
I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be too surprised. Like I'm like for me, they're in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, Antonio is a fantastic player too. I think he is starting to. Yeah, but he would. I don't think he'd be right at any other big club, but for West Ham,
it's crazy to me because like the Antonio that I remember was like a right back for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
he was like either a right back or right winger, and I was like, what the hell? This guy's actually coming to the Prem, and he's now like up there with like Harry Kane and all these people. Like when it comes like in terms of goals, and getting on the end of things. I was like, wow, that was quite surprising. Spurs are a weird one. So for me, like, so I look at players like Ndombele, who I think is an absolute world beater, fantastic player, and then you got people like Højbjerg in the middle as well. Also you've got Son and Kane, and you've got people like Reguilon who look good as well. And it's like, oh wow, okay, cool. So like a lot of this starting 11 looks really, really good, but then every week it's just like, I mean, for the past, I don't know how many games it's been, they've just looked absolutely awful. No invention, no cutting edge. To be fair to them, in the second half, they really did go for it. They really, really
they did. Yeah,
they did, and I think they probably deserved a point. If I'm being fair, I mean, it wouldn't have like if they did get an equalizer, you couldn't have complained too much.
No, but I think it would have been harsh on West Ham, who were threat throughout. Even though Spurs were pushing in the second half, I do agree with you. I wouldn't have been surprised if they scored an equalizer.
Yeah.
West Ham played well throughout, so
they did, and they played well when they needed to, and they defended kind of resolutely when they needed to as well. So it's one of those games where it really could have either been a win for West Ham or a draw for Spurs.
And really, other than the Kane hitting the bar, can you think of any real clear chance they had? And that was a half volley from the edge of the box. I mean, it was a lovely strike. But
you mean Bale?
Yeah, Bale's strike. Sorry.
Excellent strike.
So other than that, can you think of any really, really clean?
So I mean, it's a bit of a fluky one, but they hit the post, I think, in stoppage time.
The little chip one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So apart from that, not really, but they did exert a lot of pressure. So yeah. But Spurs are on a real slide now, and they need to arrest this like quickly. But listen, I could see this coming. I knew this was going to happen. You know, earlier in the season, people were like, "Oh, Spurs could win the league." I was like, "Never gonna happen."
No.
Look, it's the Mourinho effect. It's the Mourinho effect, you know, and he's finally kind of sown his poison into the club, and now those poison flowers are growing. So yeah.
Okay. Villa Leicester.
Mm.
2-1 Leicester was a very, very strong start from Leicester. It was very positive, and it was a lovely finish from Madison. That goal was it was fast, like inside the boot, curled it. Took a bit of a deflection, if I'm not mistaken, but Leicester continue the same rich vein of form that they've been on. Really a joy to watch, I think, for the time being. They look mentally fresh, always creating chances. Everyone looks like they've got ideas. Ricardo's got ideas. Madison has. Vardy has. Barnes, who I wasn't the biggest fan of at first, but he started to come into his own a little bit. Very pacey, very direct. I thought it was the perfect second half start for Villa, getting an early goal. I thought they might kick on a little bit there, but no Grealish. I think just meant they missed so much creativity. Ross Barkley couldn't carry the flame by himself.
Yeah.
They were a threat throughout the second half, Villa, definitely, but Leicester held on. Leicester just so good right now, and I think they've nailed on that third spot in the top four right now. I don't see anyone taking it off them.
100%. Yeah.
And really, they're a good team to watch. And Brendan Rodgers is a fantastic manager. I know you think he's a bit of a bottle job. I've always held him in high regards, even when he was at Liverpool. I know he should have done better to win the league there, but I also think he did really well from a terrible back four. Our attacking Suarez, Sturridge, Gerrard, Sterling was fire, but the back four was so bad, and he to get us that far was pretty good with that team. He didn't spend that much money in it.
Still think he should have won the league with that Liverpool team, but that's a discussion for another day.
Again, definitely. What did you think of the game as a whole?
I thought it was really good. Like I say, Leicester started like a house on fire, 2-0 up within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Harvey Barnes fantastic. I mean, I've always liked the kid. I think he's really good. Madison, I'll just put my cards on the table now. I'm a big fan of these low sock wearing English number 10s, right? So people like Madison, Grealish, Todd Cantwell, you know. So like if you were to go to like Oceana Watford, right, and see what the queue is like at like 11 p.m. and you see all those lads like queuing up outside the club, that's like if they look like that and they bowl, I'm a fan because like they've just got something about them. They're technical and you know. I'm a huge fan. Exactly, they got a bit of swag to them. You know, they're not like the typical kind of English, cloggers and hoofers. you know, like they play the ball on the ground, and you know they're good from dead ball situations, and they spray it about, and there's just like a bit of flair to them. You know,
that's why I like Foden because I think Foden is
exactly.
He's the British Iniesta in my eyes. I think he's unbelievable.
I mean, that's a huge claim. I
know.
That's a huge claim. I think he's the best youngster in the league.
I think so too.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But like, I obviously carry a lot of goodwill for like flamboyant midfielders.
Yeah, of course.
Big fan. Like Alexander Kaleb, former Arsenal player, was one of those. Like, oh my god, like so silky. Silky. Oh my god, he was just fantastic. So yeah, I think Leicester are going to do. I think Leicester are a proper, really, really good outfit. Also, as well, I was thinking nobody in the league, right, recruits better than Leicester do. Can you remember the last time Leicester made a bad buy or were like ripped off for a player? Never.
Never.
Not that I know.
No.
Everyone they buy, it's like, wow, you got him for that. That's fantastic.
It's true.
Their scouting and their recruitment is absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, we could learn a thing or two from him. I'll say this though: Leicester would have never bought Pepe for £72 million. I think that's sure. So
the biggest hoodwink of all times, Nicolas Pepe with £72 million.
Listen, let's
just coming on to that game. So
let's be real about that. That was Raul basically sneaking a few mil for himself. He had a chat with the Lille chief executive and said, "Listen, pay 72, give me 30, or whatever the hell he said." So yeah, he's a crook basically.
But what I want to know is why you even bought him. I remember Liverpool were close to getting him. I was thinking, what a bullet dodged. What a bullet dodged.
That's fine. Let us get shot then. That's what.
Clearly.
Yeah, I mean that's a disgraceful decision. We'll come on to that, by the way.
Well, I mean, it's perfect because we're coming on to that now, to be fair. So 1
Yeah,
0 City versus Arsenal. Terrible defending to let Sterling beat you in the air, which means 5'7.5" he said at the end of the game.
I'm
And
sorry. I'm
Holding
sorry.
is what, 6'2"?
No, no. Rob Holding deserves two
Mate.
weeks in pen for that. Okay. I'm sorry.
He's bad.
Like literally 23-hour lockdown, cold porridge twice a day. That is shocking. That is the definition of criminal defending.
Yeah, it was
Criminal
terrible.
defending. He should. No. Sorry. Lock
But
him up.
but but I think you were getting torn apart early doors. Not like not it wasn't a succession of chances, but I
Mm.
think there were a couple of chances that I did have, but you just got
The
split
minute
open.
before that.
Yeah,
A
yeah, you
minute
just
before that, they should have scored.
yeah, agreed. And it
Yeah.
was just you got torn open so easily. That's the thing for me.
I
Um,
wouldn't say I wouldn't say got
no,
torn open because if we did, then City would have scored like 4 or 5. But
no,
they we just couldn't cope.
no. I think he did. I think they didn't have a lot of chances, but the few
Mm.
times that they did open, I think it was just the space was so big. I don't think
Yeah.
they executed to perfection. So I don't think
Mm.
City were their flying best tonight, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But I do think the chance they did create, I was just a bit like, wow, if they really kicked up a couple of gears here, you would get hammered like 4 or 5 minutes.
Especially like down our left, right? Down our
Yes,
left,
yeah,
they
yeah.
they really did. They got a lot of joy down our left.
But it was hard.
So
Tierney's just back from injury. Shoving him in
he
this game is
is,
just a
he
really,
is,
really
and
hard thing to do.
Oba and Oba didn't really give him a lot of protection. So
No.
I kind of see, where they're coming from. Yeah, that Rob Holding thing really, especially now I'm thinking back on it, like now that was a winning goal. That really does piss me off. Like you're like 6'2", 6'3", and Raheem Sterling can't even see over the counter at the chicken shop. Like, what are you doing, man? Sort yourself out, bro. That's unacceptable for me. If this is Football Manager,
Yeah.
2 weeks wages, fine. 2 weeks wages,
100%
fine him
agree.
2 weeks wages, and
But
you could play in the reserves for the next week.
you kind of kicked up a gear towards the end of that first half. I thought. I
We
thought you
did,
started
we
the
did.
last 10 minutes. You started to look a bit more like, okay, we'll give you a go.
Hmm.
And that's why the thing that got me there is why didn't you have Emil Rose Smith starting instead of Nicolas Pepe on the left wing? I know he plays number 10. Martin Odegaard, say what you want. I don't know enough about him. I think he's just come from Madrid on loan. The fact that he walked into your team ahead of the Croydon Kaka, the Thornton Heath Don is baffling to me.
Once again,
Yeah,
the terrorist that is Mikel Arteta has
yeah,
shut the bed. Okay, I don't know what this guy is thinking. Right, so I'll come on to it in a second. Pepe has been playing on the right for about 18 months, right? 2 years, whatever it was, and
yeah.
has been terrible. He got moved out to the left and actually looked quite decent on the left. Bukayo's
Okay.
he has, yeah, he scored and assisted,
No, but that's not
So
enough. That is not enough for something. I'm
I'm not
sorry,
no
that's not enough.
listen,
You can't say he looks decent. Having the odd game is not decent.
look. I'm not saying Pepe turned into prime Ronaldinho, okay, on the left. I'm not saying that. I'm saying from where he came from, for what he was doing, which was nothing, to actually scoring a goal and assisting and doing something, it's a
Yeah.
major improvement, right? What's all you
Okay.
can ask for is improvement. Okay.
Yes.
So
True.
yeah. So then obviously and Bukayo Saka went out on the right hand side and looked fantastic, as
Yeah.
he always does. A lot better than he does on the left. So why not keep that? Why not keep that and keep Emil Smith Rowe in the pocket, number 10 behind them, right? This guy decides to bring in, the loanee from Real Madrid. I think it's a good signing, by the way. I do like him.
Yeah.
However,
Okay.
at this moment in time, he should not be walking. He should not be starting
I
ahead of
agree.
Smith
I
Rowe.
agree. I agree.
Absolutely not. He has not deserved
What's
that
he done
role.
to deserve it? Yeah.
What has he done to deserve that? Like, and what sign and what does that give you as a young player, where you've been playing really, really well, and for a huge game at home, you're dropped for some guy who got off the bus last week. Crazy to me. But
I think so.
that's Arteta for you.
So, second half, De Bruyne's chip, that was incredible. I was really hoping that would go in. It was
Yeah,
one of those things where he didn't look at the
I
goal,
wasn't.
the audacity, the touch, the shot. I was just like, I was in order. When I watched, I was thinking, he's by far the best midfielder in the Premier League, probably in the world right now. He is insane.
I mean, he is pretty good. I mean, I do like him.
You don't
I
think he's the
still,
best midfielder in the world?
I'd need to probably look into it. I mean, he's definitely up there. He's like top three. Um, to say he's the best, I don't quite know. Maybe
I
I'll
don't
look.
know. I don't know who's better than him
That's
in midfield.
maybe, but do you know what it is? Right,
Yeah,
the
go
big
on.
problem is right now we have this is probably the worst era for midfielders that I can ever remember. Ever remember. We have gone from Xavis and Iniestas and people like Vieiras and all these kind of like fantastic midfielders, and even people like Seedorf and every era had like fantastic
Pirlo's and Zidane.
Pirlo's and exactly, and Zidane and these guys, and then now who does KDB have to kind of measure himself up against?
Yeah, no one really.
No one. Exactly.
Well, maybe we're being a bit harsh. There's people like Verratti still about Verratti insanely.
Yeah, but Verratti is he's dipped a bit. He was a world beater at one point. I just don't think he's quite there yet. I mean, he's probably still got a little bit left in him, and I rate him super highly. But at the moment, he's not on De Bruyne's level at the
No.
moment.
Okay. I mean, the second half just petered out. It's just like City just kept you at arm's length, and you just didn't really do anything, to be fair. But they didn't seem like they were really going for it either.
Exactly. And I did notice like a drop off from City, and I felt that we kind of went for it a bit, but just lacking that kind of real cutting edge, which has been the story of our season, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to coming on to that because I do think there's a few reasons for your demise, or as you like to call it, your poison ball.
I was going to say we're not dead yet, but it really is poison ball.
Aren't you currently 10th in the league?
We are 10th in the league. Yeah,
right. Well, there you go.
That's exactly, but that's the whole point. We are bang average. We are smack down the middle. We are average. Good some weeks, awful the others, and it's just meh.
Okay, and the Man United game was the last game. Well, there's a game tomorrow, but
I saw the first half.
Yeah, it was 3-1 for United. Finished 3-1.
I'm not surprised.
It was. Gone.
I was going to say I saw Bruno Fernandes penalty, so not surprised.
They kept him really quiet in the first half. I thought Newcastle did really, really well in the first half. It was 1-1. A lovely finish from Saint-Maximin. The Rashford goal was okay.
Great player, by the way.
He's fantastic. Yeah, but again,
baller.
Inconsistency with that guy.
I mean, the guy did nearly die of COVID. So
did he?
Oh yeah, we was out for ages. Like the guy was like he was at death's door.
Oh wow, I didn't know. Okay.
Maybe okay. I'm probably like
exactly.
Exactly. He didn't have the last rites read over him. He wasn't. Doctors weren't like call it. He wasn't in the ICU or anything like that. But he was.
He's just at home basically having a go at the shop.
Yeah, watching the Office on Netflix.
I think the reason Newcastle did so well in that first half was because they kept Fernandes quiet. They stopped the supply line to him, and he's the Man United's main guy. Second half, as soon as they let go of that grip of him, he started to pull the strings a little bit more. Martial, too ineffective in my eyes.
Martial?
I think some of the stuff he does was so slick, but it's 1 in every 5 games. It's not effective enough. I think he does score goals, but I'd expect a lot more output for a player.
He's like man's like Humpty Dumpty. He literally fell off. Honestly, that guy is faded so badly. I don't know what's happened to him. I mean, the rumors are circling around that he's been that bad ever since he cheated on his missus.
Yeah, he got divorced, didn't he? I think he lost his.
But did he? No. I think he's still with her, but like he apologized and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I think she took him back. But it's funny because like if you look on like social media, you see like you see what he's like. You could tell his missus is still pissed off with him. If you see some of the meals she cooks up for him, my God. I mean, that probably explains why he's been. Oh my God, probably explains why he's been so bad. If he's having to eat that, I mean,
I'm gonna have a look at what he's eating as soon as we get off.
Like Google like Martial like meals or something like that, or Martial food or whatever. Absolutely shocking. And the guy, his wife's probably standing over him, like post it on social media. Post that right now, like post it to Instagram. But yeah, honestly, some absolutely shocking plates.
He's staying away. Maybe that is why he's so bad.
Exactly. Yeah, lack of nutrition.
Lack of nutrition. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So moving on to my club, Liverpool and their woes. Yeah. I've got about 50 reasons I think this things are going wrong. To be fair, I think I won't go through them all. I'll just let the conversation just flow. But I'll start with this. I think having three of your first choices centre back injured, Gomez, Matip, Van Dijk, having your goalkeeper in and out all year. I think having two midfielders playing centre back, Hendo, what you alluded to earlier actually in the podcast, having Hendo moving back into that loses the engine room in the centre of the field with Wijnaldum. And I think having two engines and someone creative allowed for a different Liverpool unit. Mane's form's been terrible. Robbo's form's been terrible. Trent's been hit and miss all year. The January recruitment's been poor. There's been a lot of injuries. It's a very thin squad. And Kabak. So before I don't want to get into all of it, but Kabak for me is someone that's been on the radar for a while, which is concerning. Is that we've been looking at him for a while, saying, "Oh, he's a good player, he's a good player." The Schalke team he played him didn't have one clean sheet all season.
Schalke have been absolutely awful this season, though. They are, aren't they like bottom?
They are, yeah.
They've got like 10 points all season. They've been truly awful.
But why are we why are we looking to recruit a player that's not had a clean sheet all season? I know it was a panic buy, but you went to Preston.
I'll say something. I'll say something.
Yeah,
I'll say something. So if you look at Robert, right, Andy
Yeah.
Robertson, right, your left back, I think you signed him from a Hull team that got relegated.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. So Hull got relegated,
Yeah.
but he shined. He stood up. Maybe it was the same thing for this Quebec.
How about?
I mean,
Well, he's only 20 years old, so he's very young.
Exactly.
But-
Potential there, he's still young.
But for me, I think it doesn't make sense in that you've gone to Preston, you've bought something. You've got Reece Phillips and Nat Phillips on the bench, or Reece Williams, Nat Phillips, whatever. But you've got these players. Show him a bit of faith. Why is Nat Phillips not playing every week? This guy has been all right. When he come on for Hendo the other day, he did fine. Kabak is a new player, young. Why not just say, right, Nat Phillips, you're starting every week. Hendo, get back into midfield. You play with Fabinho in the centre back. Or if Fabinho is injured, right, that lad from Preston, we've spent 2 million on you, get in there. Just give it a go and say, let the midfield up front be normal. You have your issues in centre back. But you just deal with that as and when.
Yeah, exactly. And what the injury crisis has done is basically like ruined, like, you ruined your midfield and it ruined your defense. And this Phillips, I mean, Nat Phillips, he deserves to go in centre mid. So sorry, in centre back. So why not give him a go? Doesn't make sense.
I think also the other thing for me is, I think one of the front three need to go. I think it needs a refresh.
Not one of the front three. Firmino needs to go.
No, I think it needs a refresh, and I think, in all honesty, Firmino won't be the one to go. The one that you would get money for would be Salah. And if you want to restructure that team, you're going to have to buy someone solid.
You are shooting yourself in the foot if you say.
I'm not saying. Let me just say this before you jump in. Is that
go on?
Salah would bring you the most amount of money, right? And you could do more with that money. So if you got 150 million for Salah, spend that on Haaland, and then you could have Jota on the wing, play Haaland up top and Mane the other week. That'd be a refreshed team with two new players, essentially Jota and Haaland, and you'd have a new impetus in attack. Firmino will go on the bench, or you could eventually sell him on in a few years, or even sell him on for 20 mil, but not worry about the sell of that. The fact is, if you sell Firmino, you're not going to get that much money, and you need money to be able to bring in someone else.
I would say this, right? I mean, I agree with you. If there's a choice between selling Mane or Salah, I'd sell Salah. In terms of money-wise, you'd probably get more or less the same for both Mane and Salah. I think
Salah's the biggest selling name. That's the problem.
Mane is clear. Mane is clear on everything.
But he's been the worst. He's been. The issue, you say that, right? But equally, I prefer Mane, but Mane's been terrible this year. He scores a lot less goals than Salah. Salah scores a lot more. Mane contributes more, I agree. But really, if you look at the stats and the numbers, really Salah comes firing ahead of Mane.
Yeah, but I think Mane will come good. I think he's just going through he's just going through a rough time. I think he'll definitely come good. I definitely wouldn't sell Salah either. I mean, replace. You don't even need to replace Firmino with like a Haaland or someone who's a bit like, someone who's like, oh my god, exactly. So if you got like a Raul Jimenez, right?
Yeah.
That would immediately improve your squad.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Having Jota back will immediately improve the squad too. I think.
Yeah.
The season's over. I said this to you for a while. I know you disagree with me. I'd say the season's over. we're in a battle for top four. We've got to really, really hope we get to top four, because I think that's not going to be a straightforward thing right now. I think top four, we may not even get it this year. I think it'd be hilarious if we won the Champions League and finished here. I think it'd be hilarious.
You definitely won't win the Champions League. Stop dreaming.
But I think Klopp's got the centre backs wrong. I think Chelsea's squad is deeper than ours as well, which is why I think we won't get into the top four. I think it's a real struggle right now.
I think you'll make top four, but you're gonna have to really kind of you're gonna have to need your big players back.
Maybe if Lampard was in charge of Chelsea, and then we'd get top four. But I think with Tuchel and the fact that they've got such a deeper squad than ours.
Yeah, he's looked really good. That Tuchel has looked really good since they've come in. I mean, I was kind of hoping that Lampard would still be in a job for the rest of the season, but
yes.
I was gutted when I found out they sacked him. I was like, oh, fuck's sake. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I definitely think you'll squeeze fourth.
Okay. I mean, how have you seen the problems? I mean, I think next year with no injuries, it's a different Liverpool. You're talking winning
for me,
top two.
Yeah, exactly. For me, like if we look back at this, last year you did the double, right? Premier League and Champions
League. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Season before that, you lost the league by 1 point.
Correct.
And
we did.
Lost the Champions League final to Zidane's Real Madrid, right? Who were basically moving like 2014 Thanos. I'm inevitable, like unbeatable. Like you know, you're gonna have to. They're unbeatable. They're too good. So if it wasn't for those two events, you would have won. You'd have done back-to-back doubles, right? So Premier League and Champions League back-to-back. You can't be the best team in Europe and England for 2 or 3 years, not suffer any injuries, and not have that kind of come back and haunt you. This was always going to happen.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, also another thing, you guys stayed. I mean, for your major big players, you guys stayed relatively injury-free for about 3 years, right?
True,
which then allowed you, right, to kind of build up momentum and allowed you to win big trophies and to kind of build this brand of football that you guys have done, right? Okay. The injury gods are coming back to take what's due for them. You know, they can only let you slide for so long.
Okay, but look at City. They don't go through that same. I know when they lost.
City have had major injuries. Like De Bruyne's been out, Aguero's been out.
Their squad is so deep.
Oh, of course.
City, you've got 2 11s. It's very different. Liverpool's squad is so thin.
Exactly, and I mean, you know, City's not a normal situation. You know, they're bankrolled by like an oil-rich nation. So what could you do? Yeah, like I get that.
Really, when they have had injuries and they suffer, which was what last year in Liverpool won the league, it was because Ruben Diaz was out, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh no, they didn't sign him. He came in.
No, who's out? Oh, Laporte. Sorry,
Laporte.
Laporte was out for a long part of that year. So their main centre back was out, and they struggled. And now he's back, and they brought Diaz, 2 centre backs. They look at it again. That's why. Oh yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah, he's fantastic. But that's kind of my point. I do think a fully fit Liverpool is a different situation. I think this season needs to end as soon as possible. I think.
Same. Same for me. This season's been a pile of shite. So sooner it ends, the better. I've had enough.
Well, that's probably a good segue into Arsenal woes, mate, and your issues. I think the big thing for me, you've got terrible back four. Barring Trippier, barring Kieran Tierney, who I think is fantastic, by the way. I think Bellerin is very, very average at best currently. I think Ober's been off form, and is he now potentially coming to the end of his career? And your centre mids are not strong enough. You've got some gem attackers like Saka is fantastic, and I think Emil Smith-Rowe is fantastic too. But they're really your 2 standouts for me. I don't look across the rest of your team and think, "Oh, who's the next?"
I still think Partey is world class. We've got.
I forgot about Partey. Partey is fantastic. Yeah, I'll give you that. So those three.
Leno as well. I'd include Leno in that. I think Leno is an excellent keeper.
Okay.
I mean, he's better than Alisson. I mean,
what? You say he's better than Alisson?
By a country mile.
Come on, that is the most biased thing I've ever heard.
It's not biased. It's true.
You think he's better than Alisson?
I think so. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, I mean,
if anybody listens to this podcast, I hope we get a lot of comments about that because
good. I'm willing to
that
defend it.
that is like a mythical. That's like a unicorn, mate. It's a
I
mythical
mean,
creature. If you think that, that Allison is not as good as Leno, mate.
listen, Alisson's a fantastic keeper. I just think Leno
Yeah,
has
he's
a
the
lot
second
about
best
him.
in the league,
But
or the best
but
in the league.
but we're not. But I mean, like Emi Martinez, I don't think we're ready for that conversation right there. So
Well, I think you let him go.
I mean, honestly, listen, if I was in, I would never let him go. I'm sorry, I would not. I think I would have. I think that would be a difficult decision. I don't think I could have let him go. He's too
Who's
good.
better? Who's better, him or Leno? There you go.
Leno. Okay,
Alex,
so Leno is a better kind of all-round keeper, like shot stopping and
distribution. So.
oh no, but when it comes to distribution and like ball playing keeper,
Mm.
Martinez all day long. He's fantastic on his feet.
Well,
And
Alisson's
I mean,
better than
again,
both of them in all categories.
no, he's not.
So
No, he's
he
not.
is. He absolutely is. It's crazy that you think he's not. Allison, as in the Liverpool goalkeeper.
Alisson was doing the migraine skank the other day against City, and he was like, literally, the man was doing a two-step. The man was doing a two-step on his in his 6-yard box and basically gave away a couple of goals. Ooh, man, that guy, he's a disaster waiting to happen. You can't trust him.
I absolutely disagree with you wholeheartedly. Allison is
He,
so
he,
better than both.
he's going to let you down again at some point in a big game. Watch.
Okay.
Okay.
But moving back onto the bigger problem is that your poison ball, your back four, and your Aubameyang being sold a kipper in Pepe in.
Okay, cool. So firstly, Pepe was a money laundering scam. That's number one.
Sure.
There's
Okay.
no 100%. There's no other explanation. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oba, again, he's the victim of General Arteta's patented brand of poison ball. Okay, he's been shoved out on the left. No service, no creativity behind him.
Okay.
What's he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? There's only so much he can do. So, yeah, I think a lot of our woes come down to kind of Arteta's leadership style and the changes he makes and stuff like that. There was a time the other day, I think we were losing to Villa, like 10 minutes ago. Instead of bringing on Martinelli, man brings on Willian.
Yeah, okay, that is criminal.
What's he doing?
That is criminal.
Criminal. He and Rob Holding deserve to be next to each other, like sharing a bunk in that cell, because shocking, absolutely shocking, not good enough. So I'm not convinced by him at all.
Okay. What else do you think the reasons for your struggles right now?
I mean, for me, it all comes down to the system. I think recruitment is a big one.
Yeah.
We haven't recruited well. I think there are a lot of players in positions that are just not good enough.
I agree.
Like Hector Bellerin. I love him. I think it's fantastic, but he's just lost something. After his
since that injury, really.
Yeah, since that injury, he's lost something, and that's to be expected. Shaka is not good enough. Rob Holding's not good enough. David Luiz is not good enough. Cedric is not good enough.
Yeah.
There's I mean, they got rid of Kolasinac and Mustafi, thank God. But yeah, it's just and obviously Socrates, but it's just I think the kind of the personnel, the squad isn't the best, but Arteta should be doing more with what he has.
Okay, so swiftly moving on to Premiership managers.
Yeah.
I had a real think about this because when you discussed this as a topic point, I thought it was a very, very interesting one, and I thought it was a very creative question. Who are those managers? And I think one of the obvious ones was Rodgers, obviously, I think. But then I thought that was a bit too obvious for this conversation. So the three names I went with, Nuno, the Wolves manager. I think he's an incredible manager. Graham Potter at Brighton. I think he deserves a massive shout out because he plays very, very nice football with a very, very limited budget. And I think he brings the most out of his players. And the last one was Bielsa, the Leeds manager, because I just think that's been so refreshing this year.
Yeah.
And those three managers for me are the three standout managers outside of the top 6 or 8. That just good managers. I mean, Wolves are probably 8th right about now, but outside of that, I think those two clubs are just those three managers play good, pressing, exciting football. The Portuguese connection with Nuno is so strong and it's beautiful football to watch. Graham Potter one for the British side of it, and the Brighton team. Brighton players like Lallana and really just trying to bring a bit of culture and experience into that team. And Bielsa, just because I like the fact that he's not learning English. I like the fact that he still uses a
Good.
translator and playing matches. I
Useless
really
language.
respect that. Yeah,
Don't bother learning.
I like the fact that he's still very like, nah, I'm not going to bother with that. Forget about it. And yet his players still understand his methods and his managerial tactics. And he's got that little chair that he sits on every week, which is quite
And
fun.
also, is it like a
He's got hemorrhoids, isn't it? Hemorrhoids.
oh yeah. God, I mean, someone should have lent him your pillow for that.
My pillow.
Sorry, it was actually mine. I lent it to you.
Who are your shouts?
So my shouts are, I think I touched on it before, like Hasenhüttl.
Yeah, okay.
I think he's fantastic. Again, like just kind of echoing what I said before. Sean Dyche, I think, deserves a lot of recognition. This guy has no money, right?
Yeah,
playing his brand of like hard Brexit football.
Yeah.
And like every year he seems to stay up and seems to thrive, and he does quite well. He sticks to his 4-4-2. He has his two big men up front, 2 banks of 4, and I'm like, well,
it's not enjoyable football to watch.
No, it is, what's the word? It's soul destroying football to watch.
It is soul destroying.
If I was a season ticket holder having to go see that, I'd be like, oh, fucking.
It's depressing.
It's going to end. It's horrible. I'd be like thinking, maybe, what's on TV tonight or something. If I was watching that game, but you have to give him credit. He took this team up. He kept them in the league. He keeps them in the league. Better teams than Burnley have gone down recently. So
that's true.
Yeah. So I think he deserves. I think he deserves a lot of credit.
You got any more for me? One more. We'll do 3. I do 3.
I would say. I agree with you about Nuno. Like I said, he brought Wolves up, and he plays this really good attacking. It's like really good expansive football, and it's just really really good to watch. I told you, like, one of the best goals I've ever seen was that Jimenez's goal away at Spurs. I'll send you a link after that. Did I send that to you?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I think like Jota picked it up on just by the touch line and just ran with it, and just he cut inside, top bins, left foot. I was like, oh, okay. And that is just like kind of typical of the kind of football they play. So yeah.
Top 4. Give us your final top 4. I don't think we discussed this earlier.
Okay. You give me yours, actually.
You want me to start first?
Yeah, you go first. I'm not entirely confident.
City.
Okay.
United, Leicester. I don't think those 3 are moving now.
City, United, Leicester.
And the 2 that I'm so undecided about are Chelsea and Liverpool. And even though I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm going to say Chelsea finish ahead of us. We don't do top 4.
Okay, so I would say City. I would say United. I would say Leicester, but I think Liverpool would just sneak into that top 4, depending on how soon you get Van Dijk back. And
Van Dijk's done for the year, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah.
Rest of the season, he's finished.
Yeah, pretty much. He might get in like 1 game at the end, 2 games, but he's done.
Wow, damn, that's a horrible injury. Okay, but maybe even someone like Joe Gomez. If you could get like Joe Gomez back and
Ramsden the time.
Is it really? What the fuck happened to them? There's someone like.
It's just that's why I said the season's over.
Damn, that's some horrible injury, bro.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay, if they're not back, then I don't think you'll get it. I don't think Chelsea will. I think. Actually, no. I'm torn between kind of Chelsea and Everton. I'll say, okay, if it was under Lampard, then Chelsea no, but I think Tuchel will scrape them into that top 4.
So you're gonna do the same as me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. First thing we agree upon.
First thing, yeah.
So I guess just before we wrap this up, we'll go through our predictions for next week before the podcast kicks off next week.
Cool.
First game, Man City, West Ham. That's at City's ground. I mean, I think home and away advantage has gone out the window. Although, surprisingly, all teams are playing better away from home right now because there are no fans on the ground.
Of course, yeah, and there's nothing to there's no kind of atmosphere, there's no kind of pressure, exactly. So yeah, prediction for that, I'm gonna go 2-0 City.
2-0 City. I'm gonna go with 3-0 City because I just think if City score early and hit a rain before they won't stop scoring.
Yeah.
Next game is West Brom, Brighton. I'll give you mine first on that one. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. I think West Brom are at home. Big Sam will nick a goal from somewhere, but I think overall Brighton will have too much for him.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Brighton.
Okay. Next one, it's a bit more free flowing. It's Leeds versus Villa.
Oh, okay. Leeds versus Villa.
Leeds at home.
Leeds are at home. I'm gonna go with 2-2.
Wow. Okay. High scoring and a draw.
Yeah.
I think Villa's form has been okay. I mean,
Mm.
they
I think we're
lost
gonna get a
to,
reaction. Yeah, they lost to
yeah,
Leicester today, but I think we're gonna get a reaction out of them. I think they might even go like 1 or 2 up. I think Leeds will come into it.
I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds for that
So,
one.
okay. Okay.
Next one's Newcastle Wolves. Newcastle at home, but I'd probably say for that game, Wolves 3-0.
No, I'm gonna go the other way. I think Newcastle could nick this.
Really?
Yeah, there's just something I don't know. I've got a hunch for Newcastle. They've looked quite decent recently, and like I said, at United first half they looked quite good. I think at home, I mean, I'm obviously they're fans, but I think they're a lot more comfortable playing at home.
Okay.
I'm gonna go, and obviously Wolves have been a bit shaky on the road. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say 2-1 Newcastle.
2-1 Newcastle. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll what we'll do is we'll when we do the second round of the podcast, we'll just see.
We'll go over this.
We'll
Yeah,
go over this. We'll see what happens.
and
Sunday's
that's
games
all.
are Palace Fulham at Palace.
Palace Fulham. Oh, this is a tough one.
Palace 2-1.
Not for me. I think Fulham have been on a really good run. Obviously,
Yeah.
they've got a lot to play for.
Yeah.
Palace, for me, have been really out of sorts recently. No Zaha. Absolutely no way they're scoring 2 goals. I'm going to go 2-0 for them.
Okay. You've got a huge game next week. It's Leicester Arsenal.
We've got a huge game every week. Have you seen our fixture list? We're done out here, bro.
No, I know. Leicester Arsenal. I say.
Are we at the KP?
You are at the KP. I'm gonna say 2-0 Leicester.
I'll say 2-1 Leicester.
Okay. Then we've got Spurs Burnley. Spurs at home. I say 1-1 there. 1-1 draw.
I think 2-0 Spurs.
Okay, I'm gonna go 1-1 draw. Then we've got Chelsea Man United at Chelsea. Big game. Tuchel versus Ole. Man United are in good reign of form, but so Chelsea.
I think United would nick this. Yeah, I think 2-1 United.
I'm going to say another 1-1 draw.
Okay.
Because I think all the top teams have been playing so cagey when they play each other. I think it's just going to set up to be a 1-1 draw. And then the last game on Sunday is Sheffield United versus Liverpool. Liverpool away from home. Liverpool 3-0 win.
I'm going to go with that too. 3-0 win sounds right to me.
Yeah. Because we'll bounce back in it. It's one of those games.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just Sheffield United playing terribly.
Could even be 4 or 5 really, but I'm going to be conservative and say 3-0.
And the last one is Everton Southampton on the Monday night. That's a very tight call. Very, very tough game.
Southampton have been really, really good away from home. I mean, Everton will be on a high. I want to say 1-1.
I'm going to say 2-1 Everton.
Okay.
Because I think Everton are on a rich train of form right now. And I think the hype that they've got from winning the Liverpool game would just carry them over the line, I think, in that game.
Okay.
So that's it. That's the end of our first ever official podcast. So thank you very much, people, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I had. And
if you haven't enjoyed it, don't tell us.
Yeah, that's it. That's going to be about it. If you've got any shouts, just hit us up. And we'll look forward to recording week 2 and putting it out here. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Thank you, guys. Peace.